Does anyone know what a Colombian mammoth is? Actually, it's a trick question because it's really complicated. Let me explain. Based on morphology, the steppe mammoth evolved in northeastern Asia around 1.7 million years ago. It dispersed into Europe and lived in Eurasia during most of the early and middle Pleistocene. It also migrated to North America, and somewhere along the line, it evolved into the Colombian mammoth, a species that is adapted to a warm climate, distributed from the north of the United States all the way down south to Costa Rica, with the oldest specimens dating to around 1.2, 1.3 million years ago. Now that sounded relatively straightforward, but there's more. In Siberia, the steppe mammoth evolved into the woolly mammoth, the only elephant species that is adapted to a cold climate. And with the advance of the next ice age, it migrated, around 800,000 years ago. With the advance of the next ice age, it migrated into Europe as well as into North America. Still not overly complicated, but there's more. Nature is messy, and we can see this when looking at the DNA of these extinct species. Paleogenetics, or ancient DNA research, works with DNA extracted from samples that might be 100 or 100,000 of years old. It comes with a suite of challenges. Most of the time, the DNA is completely degraded, with nothing left to analyze. If you find DNA, then it's heavily damaged, it's fragmented into very short pieces, and it's contaminated with everything from modern human to ancient bacterial DNA. So most of the DNA that we have today is less than 100,000 years old, dating to the late Pleistocene. This is also true for all of the Colombian and woolly mammoth DNA that we currently have. There's only a handful of sequences that are older than 100,000 years, with the oldest paleogenomes currently being from 2 steppe mammoths from Siberia, dating to somewhere between 1 and 1.2 million years ago. Now, looking at the data from the Colombian mammoth that we have in the late Pleistocene, at this point in time, we can see that this species is actually a hybrid between a woolly mammoth and a lineage evolving from those steppe mammoths in Siberia. But there's a lot of time in between where we don't have any data, so we don't know how and when these two species with extremely different climate preferences could meet and hybridize. To answer this question, we would need DNA from the North American continent that is older than most of the DNA that we currently have. Change of topic, Arctic ground squirrels. Cute, right? Arctic ground squirrels have been distributed in northern Canada for hundreds of thousands of years. They dig into the permafrost and build their burrows called mittens. We recently analyzed one of those mittens from a ground squirrel from the Yukon that has been securely dated to 700,000 years ago. To be more precise, we analyzed ground squirrel paleo-feces, and that just means old poop. Now, the amazing thing when working with feces, and you don't hear that sentence a lot, is that you don't just get the DNA from the defecator, but also from everything that they ate, giving you a really good idea about the ecosystem at the time. Now, ground squirrels are not strict herbivores. They also eat insects, small mammals, and are known to feed on carrion from larger mammals. So in our ground squirrel paleo-feces, we found mammoth DNA, 700,000 years ago from North America. Can ground squirrel poop shed light on North American mammoth evolution? When we analyzed our DNA from our mammoth, compared it to everything that is out there, we could see that at this point in time, no hybridization had taken place yet. But we would need more DNA to further narrow down when and why this hybridization happened. So to answer the question, what is a Colombian mammoth? We actually don't know. Is it a species we see in the late Pleistocene that has half of its genome exchanged from woolly mammoth? Or is it the unadmixed form that we see earlier? Why does it matter? Genetic data from extinct species is more than a scientific curiosity. It helps us see what we lost and gives us insights into why and how this happened. Understanding the evolution history of extinct species helps us understand how these species react to stresses in the past. This helps us act instead of react to extinction threats for our living species. Thank you.